My name is Paul Gabbane. I work for Adobe. I'm the Vice President of Design and Web at Adobe. And that means I get to help build and create a lot of the products that people use for design and web. I run many different products at Adobe, from Illustrator and InDesign and Dreamweaver and Flash and many others. But over the last couple of years, I've really focused specifically in two areas. One of them is a new product line called Adobe Spark, which is all about making it really easy for anybody to create beautiful videos, social graphics, and social web stories and web documents. And the other area that I've really focused on a lot is Adobe Experience Design. And you might have seen Adobe XD at the keynote earlier today, so you've got a little bit of a view of what XD is about. And the topic today is the importance of design in delivering great user experiences. That's a mouthful, but I'm assuming that if you're here, you already know the importance of design, because that's why you're actually attending the session. So what I thought I would do today is talk a little bit, as I just get us started, around what's actually changing in the world of design that we all need to know about, that you all need to be aware of what's taking place. And so, if you think about how design used to be when you used to work with your design team many years ago, it used to be that you had typically a siloed experience where someone designed how something looked. That's what it used to be, especially when we looked at when we first started with print design, right? It was all about designing how it looks. And if you fast forward, where we've really shifted to is we, meaning a team, designs how something works. And so again, back in 1990 when we started with print design, oftentimes you're working with somebody who was creating something that was static, that was print. It was a designer working by himself and then sharing it with a team. Even when you went into web design in the 2000s, even then, for the most part, you probably had someone working in Photoshop or Illustrator creating mock-ups and then passing them off to a developer who would actually create something and then you put it out there in front of a customer. Now, by 2010, you heard terms a lot like responsive design, which is about being able to create content that would respond to different form factors. And then app design really became popular, right? Because there were just so many more places you had to get that content, and it had to work across all of those different places. But even then, it was still a fairly static approach to how people design. Now you fast forward to where we are today and where we're moving to, and we really call that term experience design, which is really about how the team works on how something works together to create how something works, not just how something looks. And I'm just curious, how many people have heard of that term, experience design? That's a lot, probably because you come to Adobe conferences, because that's actually a term, experience design specifically is a term that we helped make up as we were starting to think more and more directly about what it means to design these experiences. And I'm curious, just for anyone to put their hand up, anyone just want to call out, what does experience design mean to you? Anybody? Experience design? Okay, well I'll give you an answer, because experience design, while it says 2020 here, is not actually something that was just created right now. Experience design has been around for a really, really long time. And I'm curious, anybody here seen the movie The Founder? Anyone seen that movie? Yeah, it's a couple of people, right? It's a really good movie, but if you haven't seen it. But I'm going to bring up a story in there because I actually think it really epitomizes what experience design is all about. So The Founder is all about Ray Kroc. He's the guy who most people think of when they think of McDonald's, right? But Ray Kroc didn't actually create McDonald's. He was an ice cream shake salesman. And he went around to all the different places, all the hamburger joints back in the 50s, selling ice cream shake machines. And he could sell one or two here or there. It was very slow going for him. But one day he stumbles across McDonald's, which was created by the McDonald's brothers. And what was completely different about this place is everywhere he went, you'd order a hamburger, you'd sit in your car, you'd wait for someone on roller skates to bring it around, it would take 30 minutes, it would be wrong, and you order on and so on and so on. But then this one shop calls him and they want 5 of his ice cream maker machines, which he's never had an order like that before. He goes there and he walks up and there's this little McDonald's stand and there's lines of people going around the corner for this McDonald's stand. So he gets to the front, he orders a hamburger and they hand it to him. He's like, how could they be handing me a hamburger? I just ordered it right now. And he sees in the back all these different people working together. There's the pickle guy, there's the bun guy, there's the burger guy, and they're all working together like a perfect symphony, creating all of these burgers that are just made immediately and available. That was the first time he'd ever seen anything like that. So he takes the McDonald brothers out at night, And he asked them, how did you do it? Like, how did you create this system? No one's ever done this before. And they tell this story about how they went to a tennis court, and they took out chalk, and they drew out the entire floor plan of what they wanted to build. And then on top of that, they brought their team in, and they had their team actually start walking around trying to build it. They had one of the guys, one of the McDonald's brothers, up on a ladder, watching everybody as they moved around. And in the beginning, the pickle guy and the bun guy and the cheese guy smashed into each other. They dropped things, it didn't work. So they kept erasing those lines and redrawing the chalkboard, and erasing those lines and redrawing the chalkboard until they had this perfect system that worked absolutely perfectly. And at that point, they actually hired someone to go and build that product. So could you imagine how much money they would have lost if they tried to go and build that entire system based on their first idea, before they'd have had an actual chance to figure out what the right design was going to be? And that's exactly what experience design is. It's your ability to be able to iterate quickly and fast at the design level before you have to move to the development level. And so, now in the digital world, what does that mean? Well, in the digital world, it used to be that you had content, right? So someone might be creating images, or there might be copy that's being created. You had a designer, typically a graphic designer, doing graphic design or illustration work, and so they'd be using something like Photoshop or Illustrator. You'd have them create that content, and if it was interactive content, like a website or something else, you'd basically have to pass it off to a developer, and they'd go and productize and build that out. Then you put it in front of a customer, and boy, you better hope it works, right? Because otherwise you've got to go back and you've got to redo that over and over and over again. Now, once you start doing that across all the different surfaces that we have, once you have to do it on apps as well as websites, once you have to do it on your car or any kind of device, that just becomes too expensive. Nobody can keep up with that. And that's really where experience design has been born. And so what's the change? Well, there's obviously still going to be design, and there's going to be content, there's going to be product management, and people that are actually figuring out what we're building. But in the middle here is really experience design. It's how you're able to bring all of those things together, bring all of those designs together, add interactivity on top of that, and create a prototype. And that prototype gets to be shared with your customers. So you're out there being able to test, be able to do user research, be able to get feedback and continue iterating on that design, the interactivity as well as the design itself. And of course, the stakeholders that you're working with, the people that have actually commissioned the project that want to make sure that it actually does what they're expecting, that they can have input on it as well. And so the goal is to get as much of it as you can done on this side, so that by the time you go to development, you already know that you have something that's going to be successful, that customers love, that meets the goals of the stakeholder. And of course, once you've built it, you add in marketing and have analytics and everything else feed back into the system. So that's really what experience design is about. And as you saw today earlier, we have a product called Adobe XD, which is all about how you do that, about how you create, prototype, and share. But creating great experiences is, of course, something that my speaker I'm going to bring up today knows quite a lot about, because he works at Sony, and I think when you think of Sony, you have to think of amazing digital experiences. So to talk a little bit about his iterative development and how they do experience design at Sony, please help me welcome to the stage Oliver Wright. Oliver.
Thanks for the great intro, Paul. I'm not from McDonald's and I don't make burgers. I think we're on the wrong slides here, aren't we? But no, my name is Ollie and I'm from Sony PlayStation. What I'd like to talk to you about, as Paul mentioned, the importance of design in delivering great user experiences. And, if that seems like quite blatantly obvious kind of statement, I agree, and I think we all know that it's an important thing. But I guess part of this talk is about why that's important, and ultimately poor design leads to kind of disengagement with audiences. So it's kind of three areas that I'm hoping to get across during this talk, and that, firstly, that failure is okay, but we need to be looking to fail quicker than we have done in the past, and so that we can move forward to making something that's better. And also, the experience design is something that I think all areas of all companies ought to be looking at and considering. And that working in silos actually kind of makes it difficult for everyone, including the consumers. So this is the question really, is kind of how do we ensure great user experiences? And that's what I hopefully try and share with you. So I work at Sony Interactive Entertainment, better known as PlayStation, and I think probably everyone knows the kind of work that PlayStation produces. And we produce both hardware in the form of PlayStation consoles such as the PlayStation 4 and the recently released PlayStation VR, but also a whole host of games and services and experiences. And I worked in the Creative Services group, and our sort of function is to provide both audio and visual services. And that's both for games inside games, how they work and what happens within them, but then also how that's communicated externally to consumers. So to help kind of give you a picture of what it is we do, I think I've got a video now that just summarises those kind of audio and visual services that we carry out for the business. Okay, so I hope that gives you a good idea of the kind of things that we create. And just a kind of note on the way that we operate, I'm sure there must be people here that are working in similar kind of creative teams or work with them. And I guess there's two kind of in-house teams that I've recognised, and one is an in-house team that's maybe funded by a kind of central business kind of budget. And then the other type, which seems to be growing in popularity, is what we have. It's more what we call an in-house agency. And the difference there being is that we're primarily funded by individual project budgets. So what that means is if someone wants to work with our team, they have to pay a kind of day rate for our services. And in that respect, although we're in-house, there's no mandate for any of our clients to work with us, so it's similar in that way to an external agency. I mean, why does that matter? I guess for us, it just adds this extra demand on us that the work that we create has to be engaging, has to be successful. We only survive on the strength of our last piece of work. Before I get into some of the things that I feel we've learned over the years about how to ensure that we can create good work, and just a little bit of background on myself. I think teenage me would have been really happy that I ended up working for PlayStation, because as a youngster I used to love doing things like this, drawing, painting and designing. And as a child of the 80s, I was there when computer games first started to enter the home, and that was a really exciting kind of time. So I used to love playing games like this, which, I mean, the graphics in those days didn't quite match the box art, but, you know, we just used our imagination a little bit to fill in the gaps. You know, as I went through school and into college, then I really started getting into digital design and learned everything there is to know about Photoshop version 4 and things like Director and After Effects at the time. I think I might have let my knowledge of Adobe products slide a little bit in recent years, but in my defence, they do keep adding a lot of features. So yes, it was great after finishing at uni to be able to combine that kind of love for art and design with my love for games and be able to work at PlayStation. But it wasn't all plain sailing, and I think in the earlier part of my career, I was fortunate to be able to move up relatively quickly and be in a position to be able to help lead and manage the team that I work in. But the kind of problems that we were encountering at the time, I'll try and express it the best way I can, is that I was finding that I had quite a lot of anxiety about the work that we were producing. Anxiety in the sense of I wasn't sure whether we were going to be delivering a good result on a project or not. It felt too hit or miss as to whether we'd deliver a good result. And I suppose when you're in that sort of situation, you start to think about, well, what's happening from the point of being briefed to the point where we're delivering work, what's happening in between there, what are the kind of processes that we're following, why is it that it feels so unreliable as to whether we're going to deliver or not. With that in mind, you know, I guess the question for me is then, you know, can we guarantee a certain level of success? And I think, no, we probably can't. We can't guarantee that on every piece of work we're going to be successful. But I think by considering the way that we work, we can hopefully move closer towards guaranteeing success. And so the following part of the presentation kind of covers 5 things really, which I think have been a help to us in terms of guaranteeing a greater level of success and ensuring that we do deliver engaging design work. So to start, yeah, I call this fail quicker, and it speaks a lot to what Paul was mentioning really about making something before you make it. And this is some shots here of a project. Apologies for the low-res image there. This is a project from the earlier part of my career that I worked on. It's a football title. We did a few versions of these, this was painful, this project, and thinking it gives me flashbacks just kind of looking at it. But the reason it was painful was because, in short, we had kind of game designers carrying out a role of a sort of information architect, and they'd wireframe the 200 or so screens, and then that would be passed on to us as designers, and we'd try and come up with a look and feel for this thing. And that part was actually done in a relatively short space of time compared to the bigger project. Then we'd design those 200 screens, and then it'd be over to a programmer to kind of implement. And the problem with this was that it was only as we were getting towards finishing a project like this that we were actually start to see it in shape and realising that there's parts of it that maybe aren't as engaging as they could be for consumers and maybe not working as well as we'd like. And by that point it was too late to change them. And this whole development process as well was hard, you know. I mean, I worked a lot of late nights, I worked a lot of weekends. In fact, I think my partner at the time said to me at one point that I was talking in my sleep, and she said I was talking about something to do with XML files, which has obviously come from this project. So, but I think maybe the sort of worst part of it was that when it was finished, I felt unsatisfied. I kind of felt unhappy about it, you know. And it's kind of fine if you work hard on something and then you look at it and you think, I'm really happy with this, then that's great, isn't it? But if you work really hard on something and you're not happy with it, that's pretty disappointing. So I was kind of trying to think about an analogy for this, and I think it's kind of this really, which we're sort of swimming along, doing our thing, but not really getting anywhere that fast. And as a team, I think this is the kind of thing that was going on, is everyone working in isolation in their own way, and no one really looking at the bigger picture, I guess. Just to add to that, this is the kind of cover art, the brand, if you like, for that football title. And just to sort of make matters worse, the kind of marketing team at the time, they looked at it and they felt that you know, they didn't want to compete with FIFA and some of the other titles that were happening at that time, so they wanted to do a kind of grassroots football kind of vibe, hence the muddy boot and the muddy ball. However, in our game, you know, our interface has followed much more of a slick kind of TV presentation kind of vibe. So here you have a real communication fail right here in terms of two completely different messages in one thing. So no wonder I was disappointed. So then just to add to that other chart, so now we have kind of like two streams of people working in isolation. And I think this is where experience design comes in, and you know, and it's about designing for the whole rather than the part. And prototyping, I think, is a massive part of this. I mean, this is some paper prototypes that we did for the game Tearaway, and you know, it's amazing how helpful kind of rapid prototyping like this can be, and allowing us to kind of share what we're planning on making, but also kind of making this thing and seeing it before actually then committing to months' worth of development. I think, I'm sure quite a few of you must have seen this design sprint kit thing that Google have done. And I was looking at this recently, and in short, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of I think it's like a 3 to 5 day kind of method for rapidly prototyping a innovation and thereby sort of verifying whether it's something that's going to work or not, right? And I think this to me feels like Experience Design Masters really, in that you know, by carrying out work in this way we can fail a lot quicker, but then move on from it. So I think that's the point of this really, is kind of we need to fail quicker, harder and sooner, and not fail at the very end of a project when we can't do anything about it. We need to be failing much quicker than that so that we can move on to something else. And I think that's where things like XD is really interesting. It's the kind of tool that we could have probably done with 10 years ago. It would have certainly helped us out so that, you know, we can better unlock collaboration across our different disciplines. Cut down on that kind of feedback loop that happens as well, and re-engineer as well when we get a sense of what this is going to be like, then we get a chance to be able to re-engineer it. Aside from the kind of tools, I think the other thing to say is that it's also important to kind of speak up when unhappy when you're working in a situation like that, and not be afraid to say, well, you know, as a process, this isn't really working very well, and we can do it better. And so, yeah, trying to jump out of that metaphorical fishbowl. Second part, so this is a little bit more down, you know, focused on our kind of interface and the experience around that. And I'm just going to dive into a little bit more about some of the kind of experiences that we create. And we create a lot of user interface work for various different kind of platforms, and we do design work for TV via PlayStation consoles, so that's very much kind of user interface within a frame. We do apps and services, so they might typically be across different kind of frames, portable devices as well, so it's very much a fixed frame, mobile, and these days VR, for the last couple of years or longer, we've been working on interfaces for VR, and that's a very different kind of proposition because there is no longer a frame. You know, the player, the gamer, is literally within inside your UI, and that throws up a whole kind of different way of designing. And I guess it's more kind of akin to something like designing for a space or an airport. You've got to think about where a thing's going to be. And with VR, there is some particular challenges in that we need to make sure that users won't get lost in that interface. We also need to avoid making them feel sick, which is entirely possible in VR. And we need to find ways to kind of blend the UI into the experience as well, rather than having it kind of existing on a layer separately. So it's about keeping the player immersed, really, and as it kind of expresses there on the slide, the UI kind of sits as a middle point between the player and the intended experience. So this idea of a magic circle, which is a state in which, as it says, the player is bound by a make-believe barrier created by the game. And I think the problem with UI is that we risk breaking that magic circle, so it's something that we have to always keep in mind. I've got a little video, and in fact in this there's no danger of this person falling out of the magic circle, but it's a good example of someone immersed in the experience. And that's the feed on the bottom left, yeah, so there's like a shark attacking VR. So she was on the front. So yeah, there's no risk of her falling out of that magic circle. But hopefully you get what I mean anyway, which is important that we don't throw people out of that experience when we're doing UI work. So there's a few ways that we can go about that actually, and I mean, sort of one method is this, where we kind of maybe an embedded kind of UI, where as you can see on screen there, like with the smartphone, we're able to place UI into part of the game experience, or diegetic UI, which is quite a good way of doing things, and that's, so like on the example on the left there, the red items are things which the player can interact with, and therefore we don't need to have text or arrows or prompts on screen. And on the bottom right here, the kind of strip on the back of the player represents their health, I think, and so that's a much more elegant way of displaying their health and having it on some kind of abstracted layer of the game. And this sort of spatial UI, I guess similar to the diegetic, but kind of built into the environment, and that's a very kind of useful way of us approaching VR. And a sort of transitional state as well, so on the left, Killzone Mercenary title we developed, the sort of user interface that people can interact with is like a wrist-mounted kind of device, so that we can transition from the game experience into the UI in a kind of seamless way. But sometimes no UI is good UI, and I mean in a game like Journey there isn't any UI you're taking cues from the environment, and again sort of going back to the point behind experience design, you know, well, what I was going to say to you is that, you know, as a team, by considering the experience, we can come up with a better result for consumers. Okay, I'm going to move into a slightly different kind of area now, which is to do with authenticity. And I think I was grappling with this word a bit, but it's something that keeps coming up for me. And I think I'm going to go through about kind of what that means and why I think it's important. And I mean, whenever we create design work, we're always trying to do that in an authentic kind of sense. So if we're doing even logo design work or something like that, we'll want to draw it and paint it, and we'll probably share this kind of stuff with the people that we're presenting to as well, because it's something that I think is always appreciated. But from a UI perspective, an example from Project Dreams, I don't know if anyone knows Dreams, but it's in development by our team Vídeo, who made Little Big Planet and Tearaway. They're a fantastic team, and Dreams is a really fascinating project. And it's kind of like a creation tool where gamers can create a character, or they can create a scene, or they can create music as well. And with those things, they could create a game or an animated film even. Here's a little intro to what Dreams is. Starts out all nice and sweet, doesn't it? And then goes all scary. That's actually a little bit of an old trailer, and there's a lot more interesting things on their website about it. As part of the UI, we wanted to use kind of light effects, and this was a method to kind of link up with the idea of Dreams and have a method to link together parts of the user interface. And we're kind of thinking, how can we do that in an authentic kind of sense? And so we grabbed a kind of light box and a perspex box and some water and some LED lights and just played around with that. And yeah, got quite happy with some of the results really of this. You know, we got some quite interesting kind of effects. And of course, we could have just gone online and Googled light effects, Bokeh light effects, and got some things out of that. But by doing this, we're able to get some interesting kind of depictions of how light actually behaves and how text in an environment can work as well. I think there's some experiments with that in just a second. Yeah. So then, from this work, we're then able to kind of feed that into prototypes of how this UI would work. And actually, this is still, I mean, this is just a mock-up, and there's probably still quite a long way to go on this. But you know, I think that by doing it in that authentic kind of sense, we've got fantastic kind of reference for how we want this to work. Okay, authenticity in quite a different sense now, I suppose. I don't know if anyone saw the talk earlier by James from Coca-Cola, which was really interesting if some of you saw it. And I think this is a different type of authenticity, but I guess in terms of the way we communicate. And I just want to touch on some of the change that they had, which was the synthesis, I guess, to some of the work that they're doing at the moment. And in short, you know, Coca-Cola, a very strong, well-known brand, but I guess what was happening over time is they were getting a lot of kind of excessive detail and noise adding to this brand, whether that's, you know, glows or effects or bubbles or ice. And what they did a little while back was to kind of get rid of some of that noise and have something much more simple and I think much more powerful as a result. You know, kind of an unusual thing, I guess, for people to be kind of taking away instead of adding, but very effective. And it looks quite beautiful, you know, in its more simplistic form. And when they did use imagery, they did that in a very engaging kind of sense. And I think we kind of had the same, didn't we, in the digital world. You know, you think about when Flash arrived, and it was a great thing, and it provided actually some of the kind of iteration and so on that we were looking for, that in a way a precursor to something like XD. And it allowed so many possibilities, but I think, as we probably all know, it did lead also to a lot of kind of visual excess and skeuomorphic interfaces online and digital design, which I think leads us to this so-called kind of flat trend, right? You know, which a few people talk about. And I think when Windows 8 was released, they described their UI as authentic, and actually using PowerPoint to do some of this has been all right. Actually, I thought PowerPoint was terrible, but they've improved it a lot, and it's not so bad to use now. And that's partly because I think they removed a lot of the kind of visual noise around it. I think my point on this is that I don't like really the term flat trend, because I think that's really missing the point. I think what's happening there is we're talking more about getting into a more authentic sense of design in the digital world. So we had a similar thing in one of our projects, SingStar. I don't know if people would know of SingStar. SingStar is a competitive singing game. So you kind of sing along and it records your pitch and tells you how well you're doing. It's essentially karaoke, but they don't like calling it karaoke, so we call it a competitive singing game, even though it's definitely karaoke. And we had the same sort of situation with that project, with that product, where I think we had a kind of brand that was getting a little bit confused and disjointed. And for its most recent incarnation on PlayStation 4, it's kind of taking a leaf out of the Coca-Cola project. We were able to kind of maintain the core identity of SingStar, but strip away all of that kind of excess. And this is a look at some of the brand around that. I think we did have a video, but I think we might skip that because I'm probably a few minutes behind. So yeah, this also shows then the user interface, how that kind of fed through into the user interface. And I think with this as well, I mean, one thing that I want to point out, and hopefully you've just seen there, is that there's like a strong link with the brand and the user interface. And that's something that's become a lot more important to us. And if you think back to that football project that I mentioned and that disjointed kind of message, with SingStar we had a very clear, you know, kind of how it looked to consumers, whether that was in trailers or on packaging or in whatever kind of external communications, very much matched what the experience was like inside the game. Okay, final part. Yeah. And just something that I wanted to mention, because I think it's really important, which is the need to kind of remember who it is that we're talking to and that we've got to speak to consumers. And I think, because I'm convinced that design in all of its forms is a conversation with the consumer. And This is a piece of work we did for to promote PlayStation VR. It's actually kind of quite a difficult thing to do, to try and express virtual reality to people who haven't got a headset on and are looking at it in a 2D sense. But hopefully the kind of holographic device that we employed there worked quite well. But you know, I think in digital work, in online marketing as well, I think it can get forgotten sometimes, that link to consumers. And I think TV as a medium, you know, is an interesting one. This is an old video that I found of a very early TV film, cinema advert, and you know, if you can kind of see what's happening on here, it's a very kind of one-way conversation, not a conversation at all really, is it? It's just, this is what the product is. But of course, TV advertising really nailed that, you know, and this is why we have, you know, a gorilla, or a man in a gorilla suit playing the drums to a Phil Collins track to promote Cadbury's, or, you know, balls falling down the street to promote Bravia. Because they recognise that kind of getting people to think or getting people to laugh or cry is a good way. It's a two-way communication. So I guess the point there is, like, if we want to engage, we need to give something back to the consumer. A piece of work from our team, we worked with a designer called Oliver Wright a few years back, and very briefly, this title involves a kind of invading alien army that concludes in New York, and he created this, it's kind of like a visual pun, I guess, this alien face and the New York skyline. And then this proved to be a really interesting and engaging piece of work, I think. I really like the idea of the visual pun, and this was one I saw the other day for a kind of pet adoption service. And you kind of get the idea of the pets there, don't you, in between the family, but you also get the idea that maybe that's something missing from your life. So, lovely piece of work. And it's the same kind of reason why this arrow that hides in the FedEx logo, I think, it is an enjoyable kind of thing for us, as long as you notice it, of course. The point is, people like engaging design, and they talk about it, and they'll share it, and therefore its life will grow and extend. And with Resistance 3, we were lucky to have a lot of news articles talking about the work on that, because it was so different to a lot of things that were out there, and I think because it did have a kind of conversation going on with the consumer. And we also have, well, we're fortunate in our industry to have a very vocal kind of fan base, so if we ever put out a piece of work, we'll get people talking about it. We'll have hundreds, if not thousands, of people talking about this piece of work. So I like this one in particular. I love the cover, it almost makes me want to buy this game. So I need to send that one to our marketing team. But not everyone loved it, and a lot of people hated it as well. Especially that one. Did you guys keep your receipts? Is it still possible to get? Ouch. But I guess the point with this is that, yeah, okay, some people loved it, some people hated it, but it did engage people, and that makes a difference. And I think in order to engage consumers, we need to share something with them. And so, as I'm rapidly running out of time, summarise, I think we're still looking for ways to improve our experience design. I don't think we've solved that fully, but I think, you know, we're not interested in wasting our time on people who are paying for our time. I don't want us to be wasting our time either. So we need to be failing quicker in order to get to a better place. As I mentioned, we need to be considering the experience rather than just the UI, and then that bigger picture of UI and brand combined, I think, is a really important thing that gets missed in a lot of areas. Always try and be authentic, and always remember who we're doing the work for, which is the consumer. And actually, I said there's 5 things. So the 5th thing is a very simple one, which is this. And I think, going back to my original point about having a certain amount of anxiety as a younger manager, I don't have that anymore. You know, I feel very confident in our team because of the processes that we have and our ability to change and adapt. And also, as it says, you know, by loving what we do, you find that it loves you back. And that is all for me. Thank you.